Yes, friends. So we'll start with the next topic, next aspect of or next concept of your chapter number 4, which is a very important topic. It's your internal control system. Yes. So before this, no, we will have a quick recap of what we have learned in the previous session. So we started with the chapter number 4, and it has got three concepts where we speak about the risk assessment, risk-based audit, and your internal controls. I hope you are also writing. See, I always suggest everyone, students, you see, have pen in hand whenever you sit for preparation, whether it is a practical subject or theory subject, whether you are sitting in a conference or whether you are sitting in some seminar, workshop, always have something. Either you have a mouse or a keyboard or hand. See, why God gave you hand? Okay, so use it, know that coordination, let it happen. And I hope, see, I give a lot of analogies in between whenever am explaining some concepts. I hope you must be noting it somewhere. Some stories I write, no? I say you go to a doctor. Some analogies, if you, I hope you must be making a note, because I don't make a note of such analogies. It instantly comes to me. So I hope, because see, last time when I attended a seminar, even jokes also I noted whatever he is telling. So like this, now you have to make a note of everything. Okay. Now in the risk assessment, we learned about the concept of an audit risk. What is audit? Audit is an independent examination of the financial information, historical information with a view to express opinion. Now what is risk? Risk is something can go wrong. That means you are not able to achieve your objectives, what you intended for. So what is risk here? Wrong opinion. Opinion going wrong. So this opinion going wrong can have two forms, where financial statement was wrong, your opinion is correct, financial statement is correct, your opinion is wrong. No, we said this is considered as an audit risk. And why this is going to happen? Because you have got something called an inherent risk in everything. Everything starts with the inherent risk, the exposure to the business, inherent risk in the business, financial reporting framework. Okay, we have already learned about it. Now, this inherent risk can be addressed only and only by one means, that is by establishing controls. And but now we are going to learn that whatever controls you establish, it can fail because of the inherent limitations of the internal control. So auditor comes, but the auditor also can make mistake either by taking sampling, he takes sampling risk, or he may make mistakes in the application of the procedure interpretation. So we have got a concept of a detection risk. So these are all the three components we had learned in the risk assessment. Okay, so we have understood what is risk. Second element comes, what is assessment? Assessment means measurement. So you are going to measure the risk. What? The level. What is the level? Either overall level or the assertion level. Then one more question comes, what do you mean by assertion? Assertions are the characteristics of the financial statement, because whenever you are certifying, imagine valuation is correct, but that inventory doesn't exist. What is the fun? So always when you sign the financial statement, you say that financial statement is true and fair, means it is with respect to all those. You remember the example when you say the boy is good. Okay, there are so many assertions you are certifying actually. If any one of the assertions goes for a toss, then tomorrow no, you will be held responsible. You will be blamed. Nobody is going to ask you again. Okay. So now, what are your assertions? We have got three class of assertions. Class of transaction, where we have got 5. Account balance, we have got 4. And presentation and disclosure, we have got 4. These are all, and we have seen that. We have made a note of it. Okay. Now at the end, they asked you, how do you identify the risk? Steps for risk identification. Because everything starts with the risk only, students, and you need to identify. Okay, for this though, you say that, okay, I will find out the significance, I will find out the likelihood, then I will document the assertion, I will say consider significant risk, then I will speak to the management, look for internal control, and then I will say figure out where the things could have gone. Yes, with this, we can say that we are done with the first part. Then the second concept is all about your risk based audit. So we have seen that there are three stages or phases or steps. One is your assessment, which we already know what it is. Risk response, which we have discussed, but again we are going to discuss at the end. SA 330. So this is 315, this is 330, and reporting, which is 700. Here they asked you, what does your risk assessment include? So here we started to talk about the client acceptance, okay, understanding of the entity, performing risk assessment procedure, communicating TCWG. What you do in 330? Okay, you see whether there is an automation, internal controls are operating effectively, substantive analytical procedures can you perform? What you do in reporting? Okay, you obtain whether you have obtained sufficient evidence, whether your conclusions are there, whether there is suspicious information. This is what you, yeah. I hope it's done. This is all about your first part. And actually, if you see, it's very simple, so it's very easy. Only we spend time in discussing what we learned in the inter. Otherwise, by now, we would have been far ahead in the internal control part. Okay. Now, what makes this chapter really bulky is this particular element. This is what it makes SA 315 also looks very bulky. So we have to remove this component. See, we start with the understanding environment, entity, and the internal controls. So entity, environment, we have done. But once we understand the internal control, then only we can do the risk assessment. Otherwise, we cannot be able to do the risk assessment. Now, internal control system. What is that we have to learn here? And if you see, same contents have been discussed at the intermediate level also. That's why we can move much faster. We can see what type of questions we are going to face. These are all not new topics. Same contents which we have discussed. There is some noise in between. Okay, we will remove that. Unnecessarily, I say given some extra flow charts and all. We will skip that. I will tell you. Otherwise, now this chapter looks very bulky to you. So we need to understand certain concepts like what is the nature of the internal control? What is the scope of the internal control? What is an objective of internal control? And what is the structure of the internal control? This is small. But the structure is going to get expanded. Then they have added communication to the weakness of those charged with the governance, response, framework. Okay, so those things they have added. So what is control, friends? Okay, what you can control? Do you wish to control? Yes, because everything, the psychology or the feeling of control, don't you feel like controlling others? Don't you feel like having a subject control over your subject matter? When you're riding a bike, don't you want to have a control over your bike? When you're cooking, don't you feel like you should have a control over what you're cooking? See, control is very inherent to us. It's part of our psychology, it's part of our basic instincts, I can say. Because when we always face uncertainty, please understand, not risk. Certain things, in this uncertainty, we try to figure out what is risk. What is risk? Something measurable. What is uncertainty which we cannot measure? See, from the time immemorial, okay, when we were single-celled organism, we started to face that uncertainty because something can come and eat me. Okay, I don't know, I may get into a problem. So always I wanted to have the feel of a control over things. So what we designed, our brain started to predict things. That's why, students, whatever you are seeing, whatever you are hearing, you will be surprised to know that it is not what you are seeing. It is what the brain is predicting. I also got confused with this concept. That's why people in Kannada say Pratyaksha Kandaru Parambarisi. That means you sometimes say, I saw it, I heard it. These are all the illusions created by your brain. Why all these things happen? That's why we have to be good in developing expectation. You know what I say is going to give. You expect well in advance. Otherwise, what happens, my students? You will see something different only in the question paper, which is not there. Your eyes will see. This is the illusion. Huh? This is the expectation. That's why we need to have a very clear-cut expectation. Otherwise, I can give you one small example. What things can go wrong? Please understand. Please understand this example. I have seen live in front of me. See, okay, let me take an example of FR. In FR, you may have to have a discounted cash flow of some bond valuation. You see that they have given you one percentage. It's say 8% interest rate. Now, ditto same question came in the examination. And in examination, they have given you 10% discount factor. Do you know what your brain is going to do? It can make you to see 8%. And you do entire calculation from where you saw this 8%. No, but when you see, it looks 8%. That's why, see, too much focusing on the question is also a problem, because your brain remembers that and it brings in front of your eyes. The moment you see the familiarity to the subject, no, it brings the component of that familiarity component also. No, because this I have seen. And I asked from where this 8% came. The student didn't know from where it came. But when they were looking at the question paper, it was looking like 8% at that point of time. You got my point, no? So now that's why your brain started to predict things, okay, to establish the control. Then you address that uncertainty before in it. So this is the concept of a control, where you try to address some uncertainty by predicting well in advance, and you govern that behavior. You make it feel more routine. Okay, you know about it, like that. Now, internal controls. First thing we need to understand the nature. Nature means, what is the first question comes to your mind? What? Remember, always nature means what? What it is. You always remember a keyword. Internal control means policies and procedures. Remember this word. Or you can also say it is a process. You can alternatively use this word, but I personally prefer policies and procedures. Internal controls are the policies and the procedures. What do you mean by policy? A thought, a strategy. Strategy is what? Planning well in advance, like what can go wrong. Now, procedure is an official way of execution. That means by thinking, okay, what can go wrong, you see to it that those things won't go wrong by setting certain set of procedures or process. That first this should happen, then this should happen, then this should happen. In this process, that risk you avoid. So the internal controls are directly talking to the risk. What is risk? Something measurable which is potential, not now. Please understand. Risk is not right now. The internal controls are anticipating what could have gone wrong through a thought process, and you set some set of activities, processes, that first this should happen, so that you eliminate that entry of that what you are anticipating. I hope you are clear, students. You understood very well what do you mean by policy. Don't read simply as a policy and procedure. You understand the meaning, you understand the background from why we are using those terminologies. So if anybody asks you, maybe in the interview, what is an internal control? So they are asking about the nature. Your first answer is, it is a policy and a procedure. I hope it's clear. Yes. So that why you have established such policies, why you have thought about such steps to go in such way only, why it is not another way? Because I want an assurance. I want a comfort. I cannot live in uncertainty. I cannot live with the grace of God. I need that assurance that my goals or my objectives, which I believe it is very important to me, will be met. Because if you don't pursue the risk, then you will not put the control. No, what is that risk? No, that directly depends upon what is your goal, which is very important to you. So if you don't give importance to something, you will not put internal controls, because you don't have that uncertainty, or you don't live in that uncertainty of losing it, because you are okay with losing it. I hope you are clear. So this is how internal controls are talking to an uncertainty, and they are talking to your objective, and all are subjective. Okay, internal control system means the policies and procedures, and helps the management to achieve the objective, and they are put in different areas like conduct of the business, safeguarding of the assets, preparation of the reliable information, and compliance. So process means sequence of activities. So I can say procedure and process is almost same. Only procedure is the official way of doing it. Okay. Now SA 315 defines what is internal control. They say it is a process. That's why don't get confused. So you can use the alternative word. You can say policies and procedure, but I don't think so they will ask you define, because these questions are limited at the intermediate level. Because if they use the word define, then they are expecting to define what has been defined. Okay, so here You need not give the definition. You can always say it is a process and procedure designed and implemented by the management to provide the reasonable that your objectives are met. What is your objective? You have got 4 objectives. 1. Financial reporting objectives, business operations, safeguarding of the asset, compliance with the laws and regulation. You remember some time back I had told you that 315 talks about 4 objectives in when we discussed about SA 610. These are all the 4 points they have given there also in the study material in SA 610. So your objectives are 4. Okay, and you want to achieve that objective. Now, the accounting standard specified under the Companies Act is one of the criteria constituting the financial reporting framework. That means how your financial statement should be. It is who is going to tell. Accounting standards are going to tell. Auditor should obtain an understanding of the control environment. Now, what is control environment? We discussed. Again, we will discuss. It's one of the component of the internal control. It helps the auditor to make the preliminary assessment of the control system. See, once you start, always first step is to evaluate the control environment. It gives you the preliminary understanding. Okay, we will move on. The auditor should obtain the evidence through test of controls to supportment of the control assessment of the control risk. So the lower the assessment of the control risk, if you feel RMM, control risk means risk of misstatement. Inherent risk is there, supported by the control. If you feel the ROMM is low, how do you make this assessment? First you start with the control environment. That's called a preliminary assessment. Then you start understanding of the internal control and perform something called a test of control. Now, you should see whether test of control gives you assessment related to ROMM. Now, the lower the assessment of the control risk, if I feel the ROMM is low, more evidence the auditor should obtain related to the accounting and internal control system are suitably decided. That means, how I should get, if I feel the risk is very low, then more test of controls I should be performed. Lower the assessment of the control risk. Okay, if you feel the control ROMM is very low, more evidence should be obtained that your control system is operating effectively. That means it is test of controls. If you feel that ROMM is very low, it makes no sense to do the test of very high. It makes no sense to do the test of control. Then entire procedures you have to shift to substantive procedures. That's why, students, there is the inverse relation. The more substantive procedures you perform, less detection risk you will incur. That's why there is the inverse relationship between ROMM and the detection risk. Okay, I hope you have understood these sentences. Okay, you are enjoying it reading. Okay, when obtaining evidence about the effectiveness of the operation, because we understood now. So if I have to get the assessment of the control risk, I need to evidence about the effective operation of the internal control. What should I consider? Okay, I'll give one small example to you. So I'll give one very small example to you. You have got a bike. You have got a bike. Now your friend comes and asks bikes for say 1 month. Now will you give? Okay, that bike is like another kid for you, but a friend is friend, because if friend in need, friend indeed, you know that concept. Okay, so you have to give. Followed. Now, when you are giving, you have to ensure certain, what is it called? Just a minute. So when you are giving the bike to your friend, there is always a risk, because you are riding it very carefully. But what can happen? Your friend can ride it anyway. So what are the factors you will consider? Should I give the bike to my friend for 1 month or no? Okay, I can say first thing, how he drives. Agree with? Does he know driving? Because if he doesn't know driving, or if he is not carefully driving, then more than him, you are also, along with him, not more than him, along with him, you are also getting into a problem, because his life is in problem, your asset is in a problem. So can I say how he drives? What is his design? Can I say this is one of the factors you consider? So if you are thinking, okay, but he didn't ask you only right now, he is asking for 1 month. Second, so you may ask him, can you show me how do you write? Now he shows me how he rides, because you never know him, you never saw him riding the bike. So first he wanted to get the assurance, does he know driving? Okay, and how he's going to ride it. So you show me one demonstration, show me one ride and show me. Okay, he shows. But what can happen, students? See, in front of you, he showed very careful driving. Oh, 100 times he has put a horn. But what is that assurance you need? Okay, with the confidence will you give to him? No. With what consistency? What he has presented to you, is he consistently doing that? That is also another factor you need to consider. So maybe randomly you check him, unknowingly bringing an unpredictability, because he knows that tomorrow if you come in front of you, he will ride very nicely the day he did on the first day. So what you do now, because since it is your risk now, your bike is with him, you wanted to check that consistency by bringing that element of unpredictability. So when you do the test of control, you bring that element of unpredictability. It should not be more predictable. So consistency, I can say effectiveness. Okay, there is one more risk involved here. One, who is riding? See, you know that this person is very good driver. He is always careful during entire month. But what if this person hands over, your friend hands over your bike to his friend? So that's why very important, you need to see who is the person who is performing. Is this the same person? Because internal controls are very much well designed, agree. It is operating effectively, but the moment the person changes, problems come. Because new person may not be performing it effectively throughout the period. So that's why students say, please mark it very important. Suddenly they can ask you one question, because they have given you this particular para in the form of a pick, there's one what is that called, box. Okay, and I have highlighted also. So when obtaining evidence about the effectiveness of the operation, remember this keyword also. What is that you should consider? How the internal controls are applied, design, make a note. The consistency in which they have applied during the period, effectiveness, and by whom it has been applied, because change in the person can happen. That's what they say, that concept of effective operation recognizes the deviation could have occurred. Now, deviations from the prescribed control can come from factors like change in the person, seasonal fluctuations in the volume, human errors. Means this person when riding the bike, okay, you cannot expect, like, okay, you came across a very clean highway. Now, anybody will be tempted to go at 120 or 100. Clean highway, no other vehicle is available. You tell me, will you still go at the same 60 kilometers? That's the change. Fluctuation happened in the traffic. So human errors could have happened. Similarly, this could have happened at the client location also with related to the internal control. So when the deviations are detected, you need to make certain inquiries, like why you are doing like this, timing of the stage in the staff, and ensure test of control is appropriately covered in such period. So I don't think so, students, any questions they can ask you from here, but only this question they can ask you for 1 month. What is that you should consider while considering the effectiveness of the operation? So that's the only thing you please make a note. Other things will proceed further. Based on the result, you need to evaluate preliminary assessment of the control risk. That means what happens here, students, once you have understood the control environment, you ask very basic questions in the form of questionnaire and all, and you see, you get one in principle feel. Now, the auditor might obtain evidence about the segregation of duties. However, his observation pertains to only that point in time, design. So he may decide to supplement this procedure with the other controls capable of providing. Like for example, in your case only, the friend rode the bike very good in front of you. So what you may decide to do? You may decide to do external confirmation. You may ask his neighbor, okay, have you seen my friend riding the bike? That person can give you very reliable evidence. Yes, what he is riding, so much horn and all he's putting, and he's riding like a Thunderbolt bike, and now you got an evidence that there is a problem in the controls. So auditor may have to modify the substantive procedures. So from now we will start, okay? In this only thing, okay, basics we discussed, only theory we discussed. This is one important element you have to know. Yes, now we will discuss what is the nature, because we have to speak about the nature, scope, objective and structure. 4 things we have to speak. So I can say, when we speak about the internal control, we can put this under Okay, there are more. We can put, there are more, 7 I can say. Nature, objective, scope, then communication. Okay, so that way all things are grouped under one. Now, what is the nature? As I said, nature, it is an internally designed, generated policies and the procedures. Policies are the thoughts, procedures are the processes or the steps. Why? To achieve your objectives. What is that objective? Okay, so we can have 4 objectives. Whose responsibility? It is the responsibility of the management, because management wants to achieve that objective. So it's a alternative. You can say that it's a process or set of processes to achieve the business objective in the area of operations, compliance, financial reporting, and safeguarding of the assets. So this I can say has come from the SA 315. This is one generic definition. I hope you are clear. Now, what is your scope of the internal control? Remember, students, put it in your brain. When we talk about the scope, okay, you remember what is the scope of internal audit function? We said there are 3 activities, or sorry, 2 activities. Either they would have done consulting or they would have done assurance. Like in the broad areas, what you are going to cover. What is your objective? Risk management, governance, internal control. You have got 3 objectives that we are discussed. Which one? Internal audit function. So what is your internal controls? It's not department, it's not function. What is the scope of internal control? So when we talk about the scope, we have got 2 broad scope called accounting control. Remember this word, otherwise it will be very difficult for you to understand this study material. Otherwise it is very simple. Very simple. If you understand this flowchart, it becomes very easy. One is accounting controls and another is admin controls. Remember, these are all the 2 broad controls you will see in every house, every institutions, every organizations across the world. You know, what is the primary distinction? See, accounting controls are, I can say, more like historic, and admin controls are more like futuristic. Okay, what exactly happens in accounting control? See, what is accounting? What is the meaning of the word accounting? Accounting, counting. Remember, accounting means counting. You start to count. So when I say accounting, don't think it is journal entry. It is not just limited to journal entry. Otherwise, now we become very narrow. We may find it very difficult to understand what they are trying to communicate. So when they say accounting control, they are not talking just journal entry. Journal entry is one of the part. What is that? Financial reporting. So what is accounting controls? These are all counting controls. And what you count? Something historic. What has happened in the past? So you may count so many things. You may maintain a data. Followed? No, I hope you are clear about this. Now, admin controls are more decision-based controls. Like how the management is taking decisions. Because decisions are always taken for uncertainties of the future. Counting happens always for something happened in the past. I hope you are clear about these 2 distinctions. So primarily, any organization will have 2 types of or controls. One is called accounting control, another is called administrative control. Now, when you talk about an accounting controls also, counting controls also, see, the very fundamental concept is called a maker and checker. So I can call it as something called internal check and independent check. Hello? So there can be, when you establish the accounting control, there can be internal checks there, or there can be independent checks. When you talk about the internal checks, there can, okay, what are the internal checks you have got? Generally, you have got segregation of duties will be there, authorizations will be there, you will have records you need to maintain. Agree with me? Without recording, maintaining, you will not be knowing certain what is happening. It's not just theory, it's not verbal. Okay, and then you may have to custody, safeguarding of the assets. So these are all the internal check, and independent check can be done either by the internal auditors or can be done by the external auditors. Okay. Now you need to understand, students, where exactly the concept. See, when we talk about the risk, when we talk about the concept of a risk is for whom now? Money. Now, who is the first line of defense? Always, when the risk is trying to hit, this is your money, okay? This is your money. When the risk is trying to hit, because risk can come from different sources. It is not that when you go to jungle, only tiger is going to kill you. Tiger can kill you, snake can kill you, you may fall into some, what is it called, into some hole or somewhere, you may fall into water, tree can fall on your head. There are so many risks coming from so many directions, trying to hit your rupee. And what is the another name for rupee, another face of rupee? Account. Because accounts and rupee go hand in hand. You don't account, rupee gone. And without rupee, accounts doesn't exist. Correct? So see the interdependency. But rupee is independent. But the problem with the rupee without accounting is somebody will take, nobody will come to know. Now, who is going to stop this? So there is something called a line of defense. Remember this concept. The first line of defense is management. And how they prevent it? Through internal controls. So once they put the internal control, what happens, students? Lot of the risk will stop. Lot of the risk will get prevented up to here only, which otherwise would have hit the rupee. But still something will go below the nose of the management by overriding the internal controls. It could have been overridden by the management themselves, or it could have been done by the collusion of the staff, because we know the limitations of internal control. Now, who is your second line of defense? Internal auditors. Now, internal auditors do that independent check. Now, what happens? Some sort of risk will get prevented at the internal audit level. They will detect it. Then comes the third line of defense. Who is this? External auditors. Now, external auditors are going to perform certain tests. Now, when they perform certain tests, certain types of risks get addressed at their level. They will identify some risk which is touching the cash or account, whatever. They come from accounting point of view, but they know that every accounting risk is coming from the cash. And now you see, students, the beautiful thing. Okay. And there is the fourth line of defense, which is very passive, called a government. Because this money not belong to you, no, Baba. Somebody else's money you are taking. Government has given a structure. So they don't bring a direct line of defense, but they will bring in the form of reporting and all. Section 143, they bring regulators, RBI. Okay, I can say, okay, I can bring one more line of defense. Okay, government. So now if you see, so many risks get avoided at that level. And you see, students, from so many risks, you see how much filter happens. And at the end, hardly one small risk gets affected. See, it is immaterial. Imagine if none of this line of defense were there, what would have happened? We would not have been seeing today this particular fantastic modern world. So what we are witnessing this modern world because of this line of defenses which is working behind, we don't know. It is somebody giving with a trust into this money in somebody's hand. They are putting into the business. They are taking decisions. Followed, no? So this is how you can prevent. Now, when you talk about admin controls, since we understood that admin controls are more decision oriented. Like for example, in your house also, you have got an accounting control. You know how much dal is there in the shop, how much electricity bill you paid, how much pocket money you give. You know that. You have noted everything. But from which shop owner you are buying? Should I shift my purchase from what is that called? DMart? Should I shift myself to DMart? Can my son or daughter buy so much value of the material without informing me? Can they do this type of thing? You see, all decision oriented controls. Huh? You have told, you have communicated. No. This should not be done like this. This should be like this. Okay, this electricity should be saved here. Okay, this much you should not leave. You should not waste the food in the You see, no, these are all decision oriented questions, not accounting questions. I hope, students, this is very clear to you. It's very important. Otherwise, please ask me. Now, keeping this in mind, we will understand. Otherwise, no, it's a bit tricky to understand. Now, when you talk about the scope of internal controls, The scope of internal controls extends mere accounting controls into administrative controls also. So what they are trying to tell, primarily you have got to two, accounting controls, admin controls. Now what admin controls is, and includes admin control concerned with the decision making process. Who is concerned here? Not accounting controls. Accounting controls gives information to the admins to take decisions. Like the way you maintain the ledger data and all in the form of a table, you do the processing and give the information to the decision makers. Now, who should take the decision? What should be that decision? Should it be verified by somebody? These are all admin control. Okay, that can include your production method, time and motion study, your pricing policies, quality control, work standard, budgetary controls, appraisal. You see, where is data here? If you want to do the time and motion study, you have to capture some data. Now how that data should be stored, who has to capture it, okay, how the data should be processed, that is your accounting control. But should I do this time and motion study, that is your admin control. I hope you are clear. So accounting controls are controls over fact or data. They are also called the recording controls. Recording means authorize, record, process, report. That's why accounting controls, don't think that they are journal entry controls. They include every sort of controls in the organization which are concerned with the controlling of the facts or data. I hope it's clear. Administrative controls, they talk about the governance, decisions, compliances. Both are important. Now you tell me, as an auditor, which control is really important to you? What is that you should be studying? See, I should be studying accounting controls, not admin controls. Please understand. Because admin controls have got a very remote connection to the assertions. Admin controls are very important. It's part of my control environment. But it will not directly affect my financial statements. Followed? So, in an independent financial audit, auditor is concerned with the policies and procedure. What do you mean by policy and procedure? Internal controls. Having bearing on the assertions, because ultimately you are certifying whether those 5 assertions of P&L, 4 assertions of balance sheet, 4 assertions of notes to accounts is true and fair. Is it what you are expecting? This is what you are going to certify. That's why he is more concerned with the accounting controls. They didn't write, I am writing. You can please write. Wherever you can see something in maroon color, no? This is my edition. So please open your study material and make the point, make the chart then and there itself. So these comprise primary controls. Now tell me, accounting controls are primarily connected with the safeguarding of the assets, prevention of the fraud, accounting records, financial information. So administrative controls have only remote relationship. They have got only remote relationship. That's why we are not going to, but will an auditor evaluate? Definitely yes. When, like for example, when that administrative controls have got bearing on the reliability of the financial records. Like, are you not performing analytical procedures? Okay. What is analytical procedures? Your risk assessment procedure. Substantive analytical procedure is substantive procedures. And both includes establishing the relationships. That means one item you compare with another. Now you tell me, students, are you not going to compare actuals with the budget to see whether this is reasonable? Yes. If you are going to compare actual with the budget and you want to include that as your risk assessment procedure, then budgetary controls becomes very important to you now. Now budgetary controls are admin controls. So now since you wanted to use those budgetary informations into your, what is it called, analytical procedures, you may believe. Otherwise, the administrative controls has got remote relationships. So going onwards, when we talk about the structure, there are two, or scope or structure. There are two elements called accounting controls and admin controls. See, they have not explicitly told now going forward. But which is that control we are going to speak about? Accounting controls. And no more discussion about admin controls, because admin controls are remote. And accounting controls, again I am reminding you, don't get in understanding that they are journal entry controls. Journal entry is one of the part out of 4. Yes. So if the production statistics are used for analytical procedure, you need to ensure controls for the accuracy would be relevant, like who is authorizing it. Now authorization is an admin control. Now, if you want to use this analytical procedure, statistic production data, then who has approved it? Is that person competent enough? Then that is very important. You will be checking that. I hope it's clear. The internal control system primarily has got 4 objectives. It will look into efficiency and effectiveness of the operations, reliability of the finance. See, don't write a financial reporting, operations and all. In inter, you would have got secured half marks. But if they ask you what is the objective of the internal control, you should say facilitate the effectiveness and efficiency of the operations, reliability of the financial reporting, which includes both internal reporting and external reporting, compliance with the laws and regulations, and safeguarding of the assets. Okay, so this is your objective. Objective is to have your internal control will be this. This means I can say these are all the 4 areas where you want to establish: operations, financial reporting, law, asset. Now, what is that? Why you want to establish? Because of this. Now, what is your objective of the internal control? Now, the objective of the internal control is determined by the management. This is also called a control objective. Now, what should be that control objective of the internal control system? You see, students, here somewhere we come across the objectives of the internal control is to achieve this. Okay, but what we are looking here is, in all this, what is the objective of accounting system? See, please understand here. These are all the 4 areas you could have established the internal control. And when we talk about internal controls, there are accounting controls, admin controls. So we are talking about the accounting controls from now onwards. Admin control, you forget, done. Only small discussion we have done. When you talk about an accounting control is related to the data. So whether it is related to the operations or it is asset or compliance or your financial statement, what is your fundamental assumptions there? Or fundamental objective? Any transaction is properly executed through authorization. So this is what is your objective of an accounting system. Now, they are promptly recorded at appropriate manner, permitted to prepare the financial statement. Assets and records are safeguarded from the unauthorized access, and assets are verified at a reasonable interval for appropriate action. Okay, precisely these are all called control objective. So alternatively, if you don't want to tell this particular answer in the examination, because I will show you, there is a Q&A on this. Okay, we will discuss that. Let's see how they will ask you the examination question and what they have told in the test your knowledge question. So if they ask you what is your objective of accounting system, please understand, students, the keyword here, not internal control. They will not ask you what the objective of internal control. They are asking objective of internal control related to accounting system. Because when you talk about internal controls are to accounting and admin. Are we speaking here? No. So accounting system objectives, you can write either authorization of the transactions, prompt recording, safeguarding, or this, or the transactions are recorded, they are real, proper valuation. See, I'm not talking about the assertions here. They are recorded, completeness. They are real, occurrence, properly valued, valuation, timely recorded, cutoff, properly posted, classification and disclosure. Okay, disclosures, properly summarized. Okay, I can say something like valuations, accuracy. See, so in the examination, if they ask you what is the control objective or objective, and the keyword, catching word here is the accounting control objective, accounting. Hope it's clear. And we'll see one more version of this in the test your knowledge. So you see, the moment you see some confusions, because here they told something, here they told something, test your knowledge, they say something. See, in examination, you can write anything. This is what I can tell you. You can write this answer, this another answer. Followed? But we have to mark it very important because they are gem for us, because they are high probable things. Because you see the amount of confusion what the ICA is trying to create here. Objectives of internal control for accounting system or accounting control objectives. See, and they give alternative multiple different types, but all the mean same. Okay, so let us go to test your knowledge question number 14. Let us see that question 14. Yeah, because I just put it there in some other place. Now, as an auditor of Z Limited, that's why I marked it as a priority question, which is in your study material only, test your knowledge. You would like to limit your examination of account balance test. So, what is that you want to do? Accounts balance test means test of or substantive procedure, test of detail. You want to reduce the accounts balance test. So, how you can reduce your account balance test? If you want to reduce your account balance test, the only one alternative is substantive analytical procedure. But that is fine, Papa. You keep it aside. The other alternative is you have to do more test of controls. If you want to limit your account balance test, the only other alternative is for increase the test of controls. Now you see, so they can ask you anyway in this any examination like UU case, what are the control objectives of accounting control system? This is the keyword in the examination question. This particular word is going to tell you which chapter it is, which concept it is, which sub-concept it is. I hope it's very clear, students. And you see the answer what they have given in your test your knowledge. Now, do you see there is a difference between what they have given? You see whether transactions are recorded, real, value, timely. Okay. If these responses are positive, auditor can limit his account balance test and he can do more of test of control. This is what they are trying to tell. But if you see this answer versus this chart versus the above answer, they're all different. So my suggestion, you can write this. If they ask you accounting objective, you can say, because primarily accounting is to certify the assertions. These are all the assertions they are going to talk. I hope it's very clear. Yes. So next we will move on. If the response, we found one gem question. One up to now, what we found out? We found out this. They can ask you questions on this particular para. Second thing we have found out now here. Okay, other things you leave, you can always manage. They are not confusing. This is the second gem for us. Now, if the response to the above answer is positive, auditor will be justified in limiting his account balance test and he can do more of test of control. In case if it is found that the sales transactions are not properly valued in accordance with the price list, then what you need to do, you need to perform extensive searching of test of sales invoices and see whether they are correctly posted. That means if in one instance you found that the pricing was not proper and you don't get, like for example, I can give you something like this. See, there's a grocery store, okay? The grocery store has got the owner and he has got one employee. You see, sometimes grocery store owner goes outside for lunch or for afternoon sleep, and who is managing at that time? This person is managing. Now, imagine he knows and he is a trustworthy. Imagine if this owner observe one instance, only one instance, where this person has done mispricing. Either error or fraud, that is different story. You see, now this person will be much more careful, right? What he will do now, he will have him in more scanner now. He will always monitor when in my absence what he has done. If you don't come across any instance, you trust, you never test it. But if you come across any such instances, then you will be cross verifying their work more. That means effort of this management has increased because one instance of say mispricing has been found. That means controls seems to be ineffective. So your substantive procedures are going to raise. Done. That's all about your nature and objective of the internal control. So objective means accounting controls. That's what you can write. Now, what are the limitations of the internal control? Intermediate, I think, I don't know how many times you must have studied this. So I'll straight away move on. I'll not spend time. I don't see they may ask, but the chances are very low for you. Anyhow, you can use your intermediate knowledge. Cost versus benefit. Controls tend to be of unusual nature. Potential human errors can come like carelessness, distractions, mistakes, like when riding also. Distractions can happen. Now, pollution can happen and they can easily overcome. Management who have established the internal controls only can override. Manipulations by the management in the form of estimates and judgments, which is very difficult for internal control to catch. So these are all the inherent limitations of the internal control. I hope it is done. You have understood. So we spoke about the nature, means what is internal control, policies and procedure. Objectives. Okay, we can say objectives from two point of view. One, which areas and what is your purpose of setting. So we can set in 4 areas. And our objective is effectiveness and efficiency of operations, reliability of financial reporting, compliance with the law and safeguarding of the asset. Or specifically, they can ask you accounting control objectives. And then whether the transactions are accounted, they are real, they are valued, they are properly classified, properly summarized. This is what you are going to write. Scope, there are 2 scope, accounting controls, admin controls, and what we are more concerned, accounting control. So when we talk about the structure of internal control, we are not talking about the accounting controls, but we are talking about the admin control, but we are talking about the accounting control. Okay. Now we'll come to the main part, structure of the internal control, because you see, hardly 2 pages, we are done. Now what is the structure? What do you mean by structure? Structure means there are so many components. You see, building structure. Building has got a component, car structure. Followed, no? Course structure. So everything, when you see structure, that means there are some components, but those components are not independent components. Like car steering and building, they are not integrated. But a door and a building, roof and a building, they are all integrated. They are interconnected. So these components are somewhere interconnected to each other. And what they are going to ensure? Smooth functioning they are going to ensure. This is the meaning of the word structure. So when they are asking about the structure of the internal control, they are asking what exactly an internal control should have. How they are connected to each other. You got my point? And which internal control they are asking? Accounting internal control. They are not talking about the admin internal control, because that is none of our business. You see, students, what we are going to learn from now, this can be one subject. What you are learning is only tip of the iceberg. This can be your full-time profession. You may pursue entire life only this one subject, one topic. What we are going to talk, structure of the internal control, is so vast. Okay, so are you clear about what you mean by structure? Structure means the components which are interconnected to each other, which operate in an interconnected way to achieve one common objective. I can also say system. Structure, system. They can interchange the word and they may bring system of internal control. That's why we speak quality control system. What is quality control? Internal control, policies and procedure. I hope you are very clear. It's all connected. You see, students, the advantage of understanding words, it will open up so much possibilities. Beautiful way. Means always learn the words. What does the word mean? Don't jump over the words. Don't think that you know it. First, you empty your mind. Ask one very basic question. What do you mean by component? Question. Okay, when I explain you component, you ask me, what is this? Why this is required? Beautiful, excellent. And let it be part of your personality, asking questions. Okay. Now, when we talk about the components of the internal control, see, broadly, we have to talk these components in a 2 way. Okay. Before that, this I have already shown you component structure or internal control structure or the component. Primarily, it has got accounting controls and admin controls. Accounting controls will have internal check and independent check. Internal check will have certain set of authorization, segregation of duty, etc. This is the overall structure. And they all work together. Auditor will rely on the internal auditor 610. Internal auditor has got an objective to check the independent check of the internal controls. Internal controls work on its own way. It has nothing to do with the internal audit. Please understand, when you have got a maker and checker, when you have got authorization, they are all the different types of authorization, different type of internal controls they have got. They are all policies and the procedures. Now, there are 2 ways we can understand the structure of. Otherwise, you will not come to know how this study material is designed. One thing, what we are learning the accounting control structure. But this accounting control structure, we have to study in 2 eras. One era is before 1992 and one era is after 1992. Say like we study, India before independence and after independence. Anytime, we always talk. India before liberalization, after liberalization, India after 2000, before 2000, something like that, no? So we are trying to understand what was the structure. It's more like history now. I will take back you to the history. What was the structure of the internal control somewhere before 1992 and somewhere after 1992? So the first part, we are going to learn about the structure of the accounting control or internal controls or internal control related to accounting before 1992. So we had broadly two types of structure called internal checks and independent checks. Now internal check had certain subcomponents. Okay, then you'll ask me, sir, what came after 1992? We got one very powerful structure called COSO, components of internal control. The moment this came, it's like a traditional way of doing. Okay, I can say derivative valuation before 1970, after 1970. Before 1970, gut feeling. After 1970, you have got Black and Scholes model. Accounting before 1492, 1498, after 1498. Before 1948, single entry system. After 1948, double entry system. I hope it's clear. Now you keep this in mind and you see, students, single entry system. What is this? Gut feeling way of designing. What is that? So after 1992, we have got a very systematic way of understanding of the internal control, which was not there before. Okay. Now, in order to achieve the objectives of the internal control, it is necessary to achieve the adequate control policies and procedure theory. So what are those components of accounting controls which is connected with the internal checks? One, segregation of duties. What do you mean by segregate? Separate. What do you mean by separate? Isolate. Set apart. That means out of so many, take one out. Anything one. That you decide. Like you have got so many mangoes. One mango you take out. Now why you take out? Maybe that mango is an infected mango, or that mango is the costly mango among all the mangoes. Because putting that together is going to create a risk. What do? You segregate it. You keep that separately. So what is this concept of segregation of duties in the internal control? When you talk about a transaction processing which has got a sequence of steps, step 1, step 2, step 3. See, there will be one particular step which is very critical. You don't permit any one person to carry all the steps together. So what do? One of the step you isolate and make somebody else to do it. Now, which is that step? That must be the most critical step. That's why we have got this segregation of duty. We got a concept of maker and a checker. Because if you permit the same person to do everything, he may end up doing error. He may do fraud. And error and fraud is something very favorite for the auditors. Because misstatement happened because of the error and fraud. So this could have been that Japanese mango. One mango costing 5,000 rupees. Somebody can cut and simply, and they may not understand the taste. Or this can be a rotten mango which is going to infect other mangoes also. So we avoid that risk by segregation. I hope you are clear. So what are the functions to be segregated? Authorization of the transactions, execution of the transaction, physical custody, maintenance of the record. That means if physical, see, these are all the activities you like, sequence of activities like execution of the transaction, then authorization comes, then physical custody comes, and recording. Now you give all the 4 to someone, but recording you give to somebody else. You can pick, out of these 4 activity, any of these activity you can segregate. You give execution to someone, authorization to somebody else, record keeping to somebody else, physical custody to somebody else. That means, see, 4 different activities by 4 different people. This is what you see, no, in the organization. Because the one who executes, if he is given the custody, he may take, he is given record, he may manipulate. So these are all the way, and periodic rotation of the duties also should be desirable so that fraud committed cannot be done. Rotation ensures employees keep work up to date also. Because of the rotation, otherwise they will always keep the backlog. Okay, the first part is done. I hope you are very clear. Segregation of duty. The second element is called authorization of the transaction. Authorization Authorize, like principal is authorizing an agent. That means I am giving you decision making authority. Please understand, this is different from segregation. In segregation, you don't permit one person to do one set of activity, sequence of activity. In authorization, you are going to decide the level, authority level. You want to give one position. What is level? Position. I told you, a place. We say that this much amount you authorize. I trust you. But the moment it crosses 10 lakh, CFO has to come because I trust CFO. Above 1 crore, CFO has to come because we trust CFO, CEO. Above 10 crore, board of directors have to come because we trust board of directors. See, this is called authorization. And authorization of a transaction is different from segregation of duty. I hope you are very clear. And authorization and execution has to be segregated. You cannot give the same, both to same person. Otherwise, it will show it as a deficiency in the internal control. I can only make and I will only authorize it. Meaningless. So, and particular persons are required to establish management for controlling. See, these people are the one who is going to control the execution. If you give authorization and execution to same person, okay, so what you are missing? Segregation of duty you are missing, then control is not gone there. So the authorization can be a general authorization. That means up to 10 lakh you do it, or it can be specific authorization. That means, okay, case to case, single transaction to transaction, I can define the authorization. Followed, no? Like for example, at home also, my daughter is permitted to buy chips packet because hardly it's 5 rupees, biscuit 10 rupees. But is she permitted to go to the market and buy one cycle? No, that also, if she is doing like that, I will go and quote contract act. I will say she is a minor. How can you give it? All those things I can bring into picture. So I hope you are clear, friends. The third component is called the records and the documents. Records. Again, this also has to be separated. And without records, now it becomes very difficult to figure out certain things now. Now, why? First of all, one question comes when you tell adequacy of records and documents should be there. What is accounting control of record? Because record is one of the component of a accounting control. How it's going to help you? Tell me, if your record is not there, what would have happened? First thing, it will help you to understand whether the transactions are executed, whether as per management's general authorization or special authorization. You see, student, this particular thing, have you not seen here also? Same points you see everywhere. But you need to be very clear. They are talking about here objectives of records. Accounting controls related to records. Records means you maintain the documents. It can be in the digital form, it can be in the paper form. You are maintaining some sort of documents there. Now, why you need to maintain? What is the objective of maintaining that? Yes, you can ensure that transactions are done as per authorization. They are recorded at correct amounts. With the looking at the records, you will come to know. You can cross verify whether they should be classified into proper accounts or not. That you can verify. They facilitate the preparation of the financial statement. They will ensure to maintain the accountability. Okay, you know now you have got the document. That means, like for example, share certificate. It is one of the document. It will maintain the accountability in the fixed asset register. Accountability of the assets. Where is my asset? What is the serial number? Where it is located? It will help to prevent the unauthorized access or use or disposition, because of the records only going to prevent it. Because when you cross the check, like suppose somebody want to take the projector of the company, the moment he goes to the security checkpost asks, what is, where you are taking this? They ask, chitti kahan hai, paper kahan hai, document kahan hai? You see, any GST officer will stop you and say, where are documents? Where is paper? Because it will prevent the unauthorized the movements, access, disposition, and this gives sufficient description of the asset so that you can physically verify. It will maintain that elements and all. Okay. So if you see, student, this particular element, what I can say, objectives of records in control, accounting control components. I hope you are clear. See, this is how they are confusing you. This point they gave you as an objective. So if you want to write, you can write these points also. But let us make very clear. Let us take one stand, because LCT is trying to create an uncertainty. So what is that we are going to write? We know that when we talk about internal control, there are two elements, accounting and admin. They may ask me, what is the objective of accounting control? Primarily, we speak about the assertions, whether it is recorded correctly, classified correctly, this record. See, we have already seen one test your knowledge question. This answer we are going to write. Be clear about it? Yes. Then they may ask me, in fact, you could have written that record also fine. Accounting controls will be subdivided into internal checks and independent checks. And now you ask me where, sir, from where you are bringing this element? You wait, you see ICI. Internal checks will have sub-components called segregation of duty, authorization, record. What is the objective of a record? Now you can write this element. I hope you are very clear. You have understood this point. And the last component here will be safeguarding of the assets. Accountability, you forget. Safeguarding. We can tell like that. So, how, when the account, they have given you in the form of a para. So, what does accounting or safeguarding of the controls of the assets will include? See, our common sense only says that first of all, we need to maintain a record. Okay. You should start with the authorization, because unauthorized asset acquisition, that's why capex is one of the that's why we call them capex, because we cannot reverse this decision. So from common sense only you can talk about it. What should your asset safeguarding control should include? One, it should have authorizations. Then it should have proper records, and records should be reconciled. Physical verification should be happening. Okay, only authorized person should be given access to such assets if it is sensitive. Done. Now tell me, students, is it not easy? It is damn easy if you have understood the structure of the study material. No, it is damn confusing and you will run away from that. ICI also wants you to run away, not to do research. And then they will ask you one question from nowhere. Otherwise, you see, I don't need to remember also. We can straight away write with our common sense this particular thing. Next, about your independent check. Independent check can be done regularly by the independent persons. They can be specifically assigned staff under the banner, or they can be external audit also. You see, they have brought this. Now you ask, okay, then we will go to the second after 1992. What is that internal control structure? But before this, I just want to continue and do certain things more, students, because I want to bring here only. So you please turn out your pages. You move on. Let us complete these components of internal control. The last part is monitoring. See, after this is monitoring. Okay, I don't know the page number. You just turn your pages, because this is not complete. From here again it starts. Please note down this. So two structures we are talking, right? Like again they come back to the same structure now. So overall system of internal control has got admin controls and accounting controls. Admin controls will forget. Accounting controls we are going to understand in two phases. Before 1992, the structure we already spoke about. After 1992 is the COSO framework. Now they said internal check and internal audit are the important constituents of accounting control. See, that is the reason I was telling internal check and internal audit, because till now we never came across this discussion. And in between they spoke about COSO and other things. You will lose now. You don't understand from where this internal check and internal audit is fitting. I hope friends, now it is perfectly fitting in your brain. Now, internal check system means no one person can carry through the transaction, record every aspect. They are talking about the SOD. The existence of check on the day-to-day work in the form of an authorization. Work of person has to be independently or is not mandatorily complementary, or the one person's work should be complementary to the other. Now, what are the objectives of the internal check system? See, again they spoke about the objective. See, one, they spoke about the objectives of records under accounting control. Another is objective of accounting internal control only. And now, what is the objective of internal check system? Internal check, that means you are going to check other person's work. Okay, it can happen, that's fine. When I take you back through the structure, see, internal check will have segregation. That means one person is not permitted to do. Authorization, that means you define the level who should permit it. Okay, segregate, okay, you maintain the records and you maintain the safeguarding of the assets. So, what should be the objective of the internal check system? Overall objective. Okay, they want, why you want to bring such internal check? You wanted to detect errors and frauds. How? Through segregation of duty. Avoid commissioning, the possibility of commissioning error or fraud by the staff. That means prevent it. The first one, if it is done, detect it. Who is going to detect it? Internal auditors are going to detect it. Okay, no, sorry, not internal auditor, maybe another authorization person is going to do it. To increase the efficiency of the staff working within the organization. How? Because if you make him to do entire thing, they will get like this is called like a division of labor. Because when we talk about segregation of duty, it has got two perspectives. I can do the segregation of duty from the point of risk. I can do it from the point of efficiency. Agree with me? So not only internal check, which is a segregation of duty, prevents and detects errors and fraud, it is going to increase the efficiency also, because you are doing only one small portion of the work very efficiently. You can locate the responsibility area or stages where the actual error happened, because since you have maintained the records also, you know exactly where it went wrong. You have got the trail. Protect the integrity of the business by accounts are always subject to the proper scrutiny and check. Okay, so since you can protect the integrity of this information by conducting the proper check and scrutiny, because somebody is verifying it, because somebody, that means your records are more trustworthy. Imagine you don't have segregation, you don't have authorization, you have got only trust. Instead of that, this control system will give more integrity to prevent and avoid misappropriation or embezzlement of cash. Misappropriation of cash. Safeguarding of the asset. You can prevent the safeguarding of the asset. So have you seen, students, overall they have spoken about different area? Yeah, they can ask you this also. We have to study it. I hope you are very clear. Then effectiveness of efficiency of the internal check depends upon certain consideration. What do you mean by consideration? Serious thought. Now, whether the internal check, what the organization has established, is it effective and efficient? Okay, that depends upon the clarity of the responsibility. Have you brought that clarity? Do people know what they are supposed to do? Do they have an organization chart? Have you fixed the responsibility who they need to report? You see, no student, this type of confusion is going to kill the organization. Division of the work, segregation should be made in such a manner that the free flow of work is not interpreted, and also helps to determine the person who is complementary to each other. So this is what somebody, when somebody is designing the internal check, they have to keep in mind that they have to bring a clarity of thought. They have to ensure that the free flow of the work is not interrupted. That means somebody is on leave, entire work has got stuck. No, there should be an alternative. Work should be standardized, platform and customization. Entire process of accounting be standardized by creating policies and commensurate with the nature of the business. And periodic appraisal should happen about the chain of operations and the workflow. Okay, these are all the 4 factors. Another examination question. What are the considerations for effectiveness and efficient system of internal control? Now, what are the general conditions pertaining to internal check system? Okay, they can ask you another thing. What is the general condition? Yes, no person should have control over complete transaction. Staff should be rotated from time to time. These are all the general conditions. They should be encouraged to go leave. I need not explain, you understand it. Physical custody, one should not be having access to the books of account. Periodical inspection should happen. Mechanical devices should be used for misappropriation of cash. How? Because misappropriation of the cash is one of the risks. That's why, students, you must be aware about it. Why the concept of 99 rupees came? But today it is applied everywhere. Nobody is going to tell 100 rupees. They say 2,999. You know, the original idea behind this is to prevent the misappropriation of the cash. Because we have got something called a cash chest. You go to the super bazaar. You see they have got one cash chest. When the billing is complete, automatically that cash chest opens. Because today's day it is much irrelevant. Today's days, because our accounting system is much good. But once upon a time, every accounting used to happen on a piece of a paper. We used to record it. See, both were 2 different elements. Billing and cash collection was a 2 different elements. And somebody could have misappropriated. That's why they brought that automatic drawer, cash drawer. The moment you do the billing, automatically the drawer open. Why? Because you have to give the change of 1 rupee, no? Because if you fix 100 rupees, 1 rupee for giving change, you have to open that drawer. Okay, so this is that. That's why they said use the mechanical devices. Anyhow, this point is no much relevant today's date. Where cash is available, I don't know. Budgetary control should be exercised. Inventory taking at the end of the year, you have to suspend the trading activity. You must be seeing that banks are closed on first. They are not inventory taking, but for their closure activity. Financial and administrative power should be judiciously distributed. That means somebody should not be given too much of authority. Okay, there should be very fair distribution of the admin and financial power, who should be signing the check and all, and periodical verification and testing of the account record should happen. Follow, student? Yeah, did you see now? That's why if you are not understood the structure, no, it would have been more like a memorization. But now your memorization is must. But memorization has got a meaning. You understand where exactly this point sits. Now coming back to the internal audit, where is your internal audit comes? Internal audit comes as part of the secondary thing. Internal check and internal audit. Internal audit is an independent function, a department in the organization to examine and evaluate the activity. The scope is determined by the management. Primarily, they have got consultation and assurance. And they said for more chapters, detailed discussion, you refer chapter on internal audit. Okay. With this, we are done with what is before 1992. Okay, let us see some exam questions. They have asked here. Let us understand some of the examination test your knowledge questions. And then we will go back to the COSO framework. Okay, friends? Yes, so this question is coming from test your knowledge 6, test your knowledge 15. Okay, for this I have to go back. No, here, test your knowledge 6. So all these things are given together under internal check and internal accounting controls. I have given the heading called accounting controls. Now, New Life Hospital is a multi-speciality hospital facing a lot of pilferage and troubles regarding inventory maintenance and controls. On investigation, it was found that the person in charge of the inventory also responsible for purchases or maintaining of the records. That means what you don't find here, segregation of duty. According to you, which basis system of control has been violated? Okay, what is the basis system of control? The system of control, I can call it as a keyword, or control system or internal control. Which element, basis is one of the component. Also advise or list the general conditions pertaining to such system which needs to be maintained and checked. So that's why students, never in this particular test your knowledge they have used the word called internal check. You see how intelligent they are in designing the question. Have they ever used? No. But they asked you, which is that missing here? You are going to say that internal check is missing. And in specifically internal check, segregation of duty is missing. Now, what is the general condition pertaining to such system? What they are asking? Internal control, internal check. General conditions, just now you studied. No condition, no person should have complete control. Staff should be rotated. They should be sent to leave. Okay. Financial control should be distributed judicially. I hope you are clear. Any 4 points you can write. Any 4 is more than sufficient. You can memorize. But you know exactly where to trace, how to trace it. Okay. I have marked it an important question. I hope you are clear. Next, in the given case, okay, so in the question they didn't ask, advice they said internal check has been violated, particularly the segregation of duty on maker and check. Okay, now AMRO is a manufacturing company. You are the internal auditor of the company. See, they take your mind to chapter number 3. Chapter number 16. By reading this, no, you are wondering now. It's either one among the 2 chapters. But to your great surprise, you find that this is coming totally from a different chapter only. That's why always first task is to find the chapter out of 19 chapter. Which chapter this question belongs to? Second, which concept this belongs to? Now, in order to review the internal controls of the company, you visited the departments and noticed. Or they could have been from the planning The head of procurement has complete control over purchasing, receiving of the goods, etc. His actions are not reviewed by any other person. Okay, so when you read this, if you remember this, since because 1.5 days before only you studied it, somewhere it should strike you, okay, this must be the same question they are asking. Company staff has been working in the same role for 5 years without any rotation only. Now when they talk about general conditions, see students, in this no, you write any 4 points, no problem. But in the next question, if you are not going to write this point, you will lose 1 mark. You are not going to write this point, you are going to lose 1 mark. Because if you see the very selectively they told what issues are there. So this issue is more related to the segregation of duty, this related more related to the rotation of the person. The store manager is responsible for maintaining and keeping the inventory record, same segregation. Discuss the general conditions, you see here, pertaining to internal check. And this particular word has been used only in one chapter called a chapter number 4. So they can ask you in the examination giving directly one keyword like this, or they may give you something like this. I hope you are clear now. You see how going through the examination question is, we are not simply reading it, we are trying to analyze it. That's why it is taking time. But I am very happy. I hope you are also happy. Do you think that the general conditions are violated? Here the mark will get allocated to identify which condition got violated. Okay, so since first question discuss the general condition, best thing you write to those points only which is applicable here. Person having physical custody not permitted to have the books. Now you say, okay, in this given case, this issue is connected to this issue is this. Now, question number 17. BSF is engaged in the business of trading. You are the internal auditor. In order to review the internal controls, you visited the department. Officer was handling sales ledger and cash receipt. Now you know how to answer this. Officer was handling the dispatch and delivery challenge. One more officer was handling customer and debtor account balances. Discuss the general conditions to the internal check. Yes, you caught the keyword. Do you think there is a proper division of the work? Okay, is this a very similar pattern? I said I am not rating the same pointer. You write the general condition and write these are all the things are missing. Okay, now let's see examination question. Okay, that means please remove students, please remove the priority. Yeah, this question has already come for the exam. The moment it has come for the exam, I always tell you, you have got other important question to focus, because the risk will considerably come down from 80% to 10%. So the moment probability comes down, you actually need not focus, because you just see how many questions have repeated in the past. Let us go with the statistics. Nothing. So please remove that priority. Please remove the priority, because this question has come. So you have been appointed chemicals. Use the first information, note the respective roles. They said given 3 information. Analyze the specific violations of the principles of adequate internal check system, and see, analyze the specific violations. You have to analyze now what went wrong, which point it went wrong. Evaluate how control deficiencies individually and collectively increase the inherent and the control risk for the entity. And did you see here one twist they brought? So how many marks they are going to give you? 3 marks. 3 marks that they will give. But do you see, in the examination they added something different only, how these control deficiencies individually or together increase the control risk. Okay, because they are going to affect the ROMM. You have to tell about that also. Okay, and you may not see this anywhere. That's why you have to be generative now. Followed? Now, based on the observations of the internal auditor, so you are going to write that this purchase department is so and so, and you can say the breach the principle of distribution of the financial and administrative power. Now you can say that employees do not perform the same function for a considerable length because they have not gone for rotation. And third principle, they should be exit and accounting control. There should be periodical inspection has to happen. Okay, you can go through the content and you can write. Now, what is the impact? Because these things are going to increase the inherent risk, because their procurement and inventory functions are susceptible, because fictitious purchases can come. Then it will increase the control risk, because non-rotation of the accounting staff is going to increase the risk of collusions, manipulation of the receivable, Identify deficiencies, demonstrate that the company internal controls are not operating effectively. So high control risk is going to come. So you primarily, you can answer in your own way, students. So you can give your perspective here, because there is no suggested, there is no question only here for this. What is your opinion about this? You say that there is an increase in the risk. Alternatively, some students could have written, okay, so my assessment of ROMM is going to increase in this organization. The reason is because these things is going to make the inventory more susceptible, and control risk can create the collusion there. So I am going to address it by more substantive procedure, by bringing down my detection risk. You could have written like that also. Now, question number 19. So have we done here? Yeah, I think test your understanding is the last question. Question number 19 belongs to yes. Okay, let us see. Let us read this question, okay, because I don't know. Involves evaluation of the internal audit. This is related to the internal audit, this particular para. RK Limited is engaged in the manufacturing and processing. It purchases raw material at 12% tax. It takes 3 to 4 days for the raw material to reach the company's plant. Recently, they have revamped their internal control system for recording of the transaction. You have also assumed charge as the internal audit department for few days before. Till now, you are not clear. Are they asking from chapter number 16? Okay. It is noticed that the information system requires booking of purchases in the purchase ledger and stock records from the date of purchase of invoice only. How would you deal with the above matter? Okay, please mark it priority 1 question, students, because this requires one very specific answer, which may have to be repeated from test your understanding 1. So please remove the previous priorities, but give priority to this question. Okay, so what is the issue here? Company has revamped the internal control system. It takes 3 to 4 days. You notice that information system requires a booking of purchases in the purchase ledger and stock records from the date of purchase invoice only. But this is the problem, no? What is the problem here? Stock in transit. See, you pass the journal entry from the date of purchases, but it actually takes 3 to 4 days to reach this raw material to the plant. Now, if you are talking about your Ind AS 2, or if you are talking about Companies Act and all, this 3 to 4 days time at the end of the year could have been goods in transit. So this requires a different disclosures only. But your information system is capturing from the date of purchases. Right? You should do it the day it is received. No, because yes, maybe it is your stock. I agree, but it is something in transit. How can you say that we have received it? Now, how would you deal with the above matter as an internal auditor of a company? Now, what is internal audit? It involves appraisal of the functioning of the entity. Evaluation of the internal control is your responsibility. Function is to evaluate the internal control in the given situation. You see that the design of the control system is faulty because it is permitting the booking from the date of invoice. Further, such system can have implications with respect to GST also, because they told here GST implication is taxable at 12%. So tomorrow GST notice can come. No CLAR also going to be applicable here. That's why auditor should report the above matters for corrective actions. I think we can, yeah. You see, this looks like your chapter 16 question, because they are talking from the reporting point of view. You have to report. Reporting is discussed in chapter 16, but the question is given in chapter number 4. Yeah, please mark it important. Yeah, maybe I can say, because some portion is coming from here. What is internal audit? They said it is an appraisal function. Yes, friends, I hope it's clear. So again, I'll go back. Yes. So in the next session, we will learn about the FOSO framework. What is after 1992? So before 1992, accounting control, admin control. This is how the organization was addressed. Internal check, independent check. What is an objective? What are the general conditions? What do you need to take care? Then this will have segregation of duty, authorization, recording, and safeguarding of the assets. The objective of accounting record. See, this is how the structure will look like. And once that fits in your mind, and you understand what type of question they are going to ask, you can always write the answers. In the next session, we will go with the your COSO internal controls. Yes, thank you students again for listening continuously for 1.5 hours. I thought of making some notes, but I felt very happy actually when I was preparing. I also prepared. Yesterday only struck me these points and all. Okay, it works like this and all. Because I was also getting confused, like what exactly this accounting system, what is this control system. I was so happy when I figured out, okay, this is how it works. And again, thanks to Chat GPT also. So definitely you cannot afford to sit with GPT to do R&D now. So give that work to me. So I again request you, I don't know, you are sitting without any doubts. How it is possible, I wonder. So many doubts should have come to you, because so many doubts comes to me actually when teaching. So wherever I feel that I am deficient in teaching, next step, I'll go do some research, and next day I'll correct it. But again, I wish so many questions to come to me, students. Please give me, because again I told, no, see, we have spent out 30-40 hours we have spent already. And after you see now, after this chapter, you will not realize when we finish chapter number 7 or when we finish the standards. Because they're all small, they're simple. But up to chapter number 4, no, journey is difficult. Then our next stop will come in the bank audit. Because after clean highway, like from Mangalore to Bangalore, okay, Ghat section, Sakleshpur and all will come. But once the Hassan road comes, now straight away to Bangalore only. Then Bangalore traffic comes. That's why chapter number 14, your NBFC audit. Afterwards, again, you will have one more problem with the chapter number, your investigation. Simple, but it is very lengthy. And last destiny is your professional ethics. So I have kept the suspense only for the last. I could have done that before only. But I want to discuss in detail about the professional ethics. Yeah, what I want to tell you, please complete your backlogs. Don't leave it. Because suddenly when we go at a high speed, then you realize that there are so many things to do. I hope you are completing. Hope to wish to see your test papers. Yes, thank you.